10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
SEGA live again. We're going to keep the content rolling live as we look away from the Ram Clutches Nationals at Knoxville Dragway and look ahead to the race that will be going down at Kil-Kare Raceway there in Xenia, Ohio. That last clip of the intro is from Kil-Kare. It was certainly an interesting event last year. We'll dive into that a little bit with yours truly, the Monday Morning Racer Lee Craft, coming to you live from McKinney Corp in Lafayette, Indiana. And over there on top is Mr. Duchesne Bland, and down below, but that doesn't mean he's least or low, is Mr. David Lancaster, the voice of the Southeast Gassers Association. Gentlemen, I've been thinking about SEGA. I'm sure you all have. What's been the thoughts lately?
I have to say, just the fact that they were able to get back on the track. It's been a minute. And the fact that they were able to get back on the track, and then the great crowd that showed up for this event, that really, it was really nice to see that, especially having the lull in between there because of weather. So I know everyone was happy to get back at it and get on the track.
For me, it's got to be the announcements that we had last week here on SEGA Live. The most prominent one being, Gulfport, Mississippi, Britt Cummings and his family and the racetrack facility stepping up the way they did. But the quickest one we'll see is the latter announcement by Rocky Platt of how we're going to draw it out of a hat at Kil-Kare after second round of qualifying. That's going to be a major shakeup, or has the potential to be a major shakeup in our points categories.
Yes, and there's already been some posts made. I haven't put out like an official post that's going to take place. It's going to be something that I'm going to incorporate in the press release for the pre-race elements of going up to Kil-Kare. But there have been those that have put posts out, and there's been some interesting discussion about that. It's going to happen one way or the other, and whether people like it or not, but you are right. It is certainly going to shake things up. It will be an interesting time there at Kil-Kare Raceway when that all goes down. So we're going to talk about that certainly later on after we talk with Mr. Jeffery Ferguson. We got him into the green room. He debuted a new hot rod that he was driving. He can explain and clue us in on everything else as far as owner and combination. But in the AFX category, though, we are familiar with him in A-Gas. So good to see him back in a different category. And the car is called Wily and Woolly too. And it was a wild and woolly time in that hot rod. Highs and lows in qualifying, in competition, and even reestablishing the AFX record. So there's a lot to get from Mr. Ferguson on the wild and woolly weekend he had at Knoxville.
Yeah, I can't wait to let our fans also get to know a little bit more about Jeffery Ferguson, because he has a long pedigree in racing, not just drag racing, but a long pedigree in racing and high performance cars. And you're going to be interested to hear his story. Absolutely. That's something that a part of this program is to talk with individuals that we may not always get to talk to routinely. And, we can't have an episode for everybody right away, but we do want to bring on and chat with the individuals, the personalities that make up the Southeast Gassers Association, and hear from them beyond the racetrack. When it's race time, often you're going to get those questions that pertain to, what happened on the track, or what
might happen on the track in the round that transpired and the round that's about to come up. But this is certainly a great platform in which we can take the time and talk to a Jeffery Ferguson and get the down low on who he is, where he comes from, and that apparently now that when they show up with this Wild and Woolly 2 machine, people need to be on the lookout in AFX competition. Knoxville Dragway was the Ram Clutches Nationals. Ram Clutches is a major supporter for the Southeast Gases Association, and those that compete at the highest level in SEGA competition, well, they're ramming it, if you will, in the clutch department. A word from them, and then we'll have Mr. Ferguson on right here on SEGA Live. Jeffery Ferguson with us live. Certainly no stranger to mashing that clutch in and jamming the gears, whether it is with the Southeast Gas Association or beyond in the world of racing. Jeffery, look, good to have you come on the show. Where are you coming to us from?
Hey, thanks for having me. Olive Branch, Mississippi, just right south of Memphis, Tennessee, across the state line.
All right, great. Well, you're not too far from some fellers I'm familiar with in the Neils and the Gieslins.
Man, I know them pretty well. Me and Casey used to race junior dragsters together starting when he's around 10 years old. So, and Michael, we've done car shows together. I've gone to their shop. They've been to my shop. Ricky's actually the one that lettered the Wild and Woolly car.
He does phenomenal work. I did not realize that.
Yes.
He does phenomenal work. He has restored to, well, crossing the T's and dotting the I's type of situation of some period correct, historic, actual the car, funny cars, and it's phenomenal what he's been able to do.
Oh, it's amazing work.
So where's this love for racing? Where did it start? You obviously you've been involved in a lot of different things, but where does the root of it begin?
That started when I was probably, 1-2 years old. I was at the racetrack with my dad. I think he said he missed the track opening because my birthday is the day that the Memphis Motorsports Park opened up. So I grew up at the racetrack helping him, helping his buddies. And then I started junior drag racing around 10, 11 years old. And I moved into a door car when I was about 15. And, man, I've been hooked ever since. And then you talk about Casey. His dad has a hot rod shop, and that's where I started fabricating that. I was one of the lead fabricators at Ronnie's Hot Rods, and that's where kind of everything spawned from there as far as wanting to build things and figure out how everything works, and that was where my love of drag racing started.
You talked about you going to the racetrack with your dad. So many great stories have come from a father taking a son to a drag strip or a father taking a daughter to the drag strip. For you, you said it started at a young age. When did you know that you wanted to drive and you wanted to go fast? And how far did you want to go?
Well, the first time I wanted to go fast was, I'm old enough now. I guess I can tell all these stories. You're not supposed to tell Mom when she's back at the house. My dad take me for a ride in one of his hot rods, and he let me do a burnout in one of his 67 Chevelles. I was about 13, 14 years old. I said, man, this is awesome. He's over there in the passenger seat going, stop, stop. And I wanted to keep going.
That is great. That is truly, and it gets in your blood.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And that's probably where the bug, fully took a hold right there.
You talk about fabricating, that's an art, and it's not something that everyone can do. I'm sure it saves you a lot of time being that you come from that, but where did that, when you were able to generate that love for fabrication, what was the best parts about that? Like what are some of the vehicles you were able to work on that are memorable to you?
Probably the one that most stands out is the one that most people around here know me from. Is Super Chevy was pretty big back in the day at Memphis Motorsports Park, and I just transitioned out of junior dragsters, and I was driving my dad's Super Gas Camaro. We put basically a bone stock 502 big block in it, and I ran DOT quarter mile and a little bit of Super Pro. And he was at the Super Chevy show, and he bought a 67 Nova wagon. And that was about the time that I was working with Casey and Ronnie. And after seeing Ronnie he can build anything, I said, man, I think I can do this too. So my dad bought that car, the station wagon, and I took a Sawzall to it, and I started back halfing that car myself, and I turned it into a two-door station wagon, like a Nomad with the sedan door, so it didn't have the two short doors on it. And I started on that when I was about 15 years old, and that was the first race car I ever built. And then after I built that one, I wanted to build them all. So I kept doing that, worked for Ronnie, and then when I was about 20 years old, I wanted to take it to the next level. So I went to the University of Mississippi, and I got my mechanical engineering degree. I did the corporate gig for 5-6 years, and I'm not fit to be a corporate worker. When you got to tell them to I need to take off a week to go do this, 2 weeks to go do Bonneville, or a week to do drag week, they don't really like that. So I just kind of had to make a living from fabricating and using my engineering skills and drag racing to continue chasing this sport.
Well, Jeffrey, what a great story right there. I mean, I've not been a fabricator myself. I've came from an athletic background, but once you work so hard on something and then you see the fruits of your labor come through as you did in that 67 wagon, there's no describing the sense of accomplishment. And I know that keeps you driving on here today.
Oh yeah. One day I'm going to buy that car back. I may be old in a wheelchair, but I'm going to get that car back one day. I know where it's at. I'm still good friends with the owner. It's changed hands several times, but me and him stay in contact. But that's definitely on my bucket list of cars to get back. But we built a lot of cars in the last probably 10 years, and joining the SEGA stuff, it's still probably one of the only sanctioning bodies you can. Well, they have some tight rules, but there's still a lot of creativity on motor combinations, and the chassis design is basically just show up with a ladder bar, however long it takes to meet the rule, wheelie bars to meet the rule, and a basic roll cage. And you can kind of put your spin on what you think it takes to do it better than the next guy. So that's kind of what drew me into SEGA. We did the Bonneville thing, which I'd say is probably one of the last racing sports that hasn't been like commercialized with a bunch of big sponsors. A lot of ingenuity, and you can pretty much try whatever you want with that. That car you're showing right there, that's the 1979 Trans Am that George Gallimore drove. That's who owns the Wild and Woolly Nova. That was one of the first cars that I built with George. He drove that car, and he went 261 miles an hour with a naturally aspirated big block in it. You talk about chasing speed and wanting to go faster. That right there will definitely make you want to build something else. We took that car to Bonneville, I want to say 2010, 11, and 12. And that last year that we went, we had already beat the record and set it at like 258, but we had problems trying to get that car to go faster. So we ended up building a whole new car, which was a 1988 Trans Am. And that car right there, George was going to drive it, but it took so long to build it that we both got a little bit bigger, And it turns out I was the only one that could fit in it. Maybe it was some of the forethought as we was building it as to who could actually fit in it. But I ended up getting to drive it thanks to George. He does all the tuning and motor building. But that car right there, it took about 8 years to build it, and it took 5 years of going back and forth to Bonneville to actually set a record. I went 314 miles an hour, and I got the record at 303 in that car. So we started building the Wild and Woolly car during going to Bonneville, so that's kind of why we had a little absence from the gasser world, because we had to finish up that little project and get that record.
So now you talked about the Wild and Woolly. How long has that car been in development, been in fabrication for it to be at the point it is now?
Well, the Wild and Woolly car actually started out, that was one of George's first cars. It was a 1933 Willys that he raced back at Lakeland, Tennessee. And it was I guess it was a gasser. I'd call it a gasser now. It wouldn't quite fit into the SEGA classes, but it was an old school hot rod, and that was Wild and Woolly. So then with the Chevy 2, we started on that probably late 21 and worked all of 22. And I think the Reynolds, Georgia was our first outing in the AFX car with George driving. We were a little bit down on power. We didn't get to do much testing. We had problems with the clutch, problems with the shocks, you name it, the new car blues. We fought it, and then we kind of parked it. We did Bonneville, and then in the meantime, I wanted to go back running with the gasser guys. I bought the Moonshot 56 from Sam, and I took my old bracket 540 big block, converted it over to fit the SEGA rules, and we went and tested it at Holly Springs. I think it ran like 580s, and that was the first time I'd ever dumped the clutch on a 4-speed car. And I was like, wow, man, that's fun. I like that. And then we ended up changing motors in the car. We went to Gulfport, ran one of my quickest passes ever in the 56 against Leslie Horn, but it wasn't quite enough. So we said we're just going to park that car and focus on the Chevy 2. And we probably spent at least 6-7 months on the hub dyno chasing horsepower. George built a awesome motor. I can't tell you the horsepower, but it was good. And we went and tested that car early this year at our local track at Holly Springs, and it had some really good numbers. I posted up a couple videos, but I never showed anybody the times. And then we showed up at Knoxville, straight off the trailer, Friday night test and tune. We went 584, and of course that don't count for the record because that was test night. But that Saturday, first pass back down the track, that's when I went to 589, and then ended up hitting the wall a little bit. I can go into more detail about that later on. We got that fixed, and ended up backing up the record in that car. I was really hoping for a win because I had to skip my baby girl's birthday to make that race. So I was wanting to bring home a win for her. So didn't get the win, but we did set the record, and we definitely got one fast hot rod, that's for sure.
That's no doubt right there. And Jeffrey, is there any altering of the wheelbase in that car as well, or what's the wheelbase like in that car?
Yeah, when we built that car, it was originally it was a really nice car. It was another friend of ours had started building it. It was his wife's Chevy 2. It had a Heights Mustang 2 front end, a Heights 4-link in the back. It was mini tubbed. It had like 0 rust in it. And then we took it and put it on my chassis jig, and I cut everything from the firewall back to the taillight panel. And then we moved the rear end forward 6 inches and stretched the nose 7 inches.
That's pretty neat.
But you should have seen it before. Most people wouldn't have cut one up, but it's hard to find a good shell,
That's what a lot of our fans don't understand. I mean, there's been some absolutely incredible cars cut up to come Southeast Gasser Racing. I mean, the 61 Corvette of the frequent flyer, the 63 Chevy 2 that was the frequent flyer. I mean, the 63 split window Corvette that now Barry Adler owns. I mean, those cars were show quality cars with a little bit of work, and they just cut them up and made A-gas cars out of them. So, I mean, these, we're serious about race cars here in the Southeast Gassers.
Oh yeah, it's a full-blown race car now. And those two Corvettes, hey, anybody that'll cut up a car like that, we're automatically friends no matter what for life.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, you strike me as a guy who doesn't like to conform to rules. As you said, corporate America didn't go for you. So, and you talked about the individuality you could put into a car. What other things that you can talk about that might not be that much of a secret would you like to see in this Wild and Woolly 2 before you're finished with it?
There's still probably a good, I'll just go and say it, there's probably another 10th left in what we got. The air wasn't real good at Knoxville. I was kind of short shifting a little bit from what we dynoed the motor at and where I was shifting at. I'm kind of falling on the back, the front side of the RPM curve. So there's still a little ET in that. We get in some good air. When we go to Gulfport in October, I'm hoping to lower that bar down even further. We want to set the AFX record like we did the Bonneville record. Take another 33 years to beat it.
That's impressive. Yeah, that'll be a blast. But Brent Brightman had a really good question. He says, he said he had a question. He says, name a time when you wanted to give up racing and what made you keep doing it?
Well, when I decided to get my engineering degree, that Chevy 2 wagon that I built when I was 15 years old, I sold that car and my C5 Corvette to pay for college tuition. So I took probably about a 4-year break from drag racing. I'd go out, help my dad or George run his comp eliminator car. But I always had the bug. But once I got through with school and got my diploma and got a job, it was game on. I couldn't get enough race cars. But I had to pause that, just to I had to be able to fund it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I had to go get a good job.
Probably made you study harder because you knew what you had invested in a tuition.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't get a student loan. Nobody paid for it. I sold that. That was the first race car I ever built. So I guess you could say it was my first love that I gave away to get my schooling out of the way and get back on track in the racing world.
That's good stuff. Good stuff. Now, I know a lot of race car drivers and people who like to build cars are forward thinkers. What is a bucket list car that you would like to do in the future?
Man, a bucket list car for me to drive. I got I guess kind of what started the nostalgia deal for me before I even knew I'd seen the Gassers, the Hot Rod Reunion in Bowling Green. I went to that race since it started. Me and my dad was talking about that this weekend. Like, when did we start going to that? It had to have been the second or third one. I think they just had their 20th year or something like that. But when I was there, I got a front engine dragster and I run it in the 750 index class with the NDRL guys. And a bucket list car for me would have to be a nostalgia top fuel dragster. I for sure want to get in one of those. But I can't afford that, so I had to run the 750 class. I was going to step up and run the 7.0 class, but then the gasser bug bit, so flashback has been parked. Last time I ran that car was at the first Funny Car Chaos race in Dallas. But for sure, a nostalgia top fuel dragster. That would, if I could strap in one of those, I would do it.
That's such a great background into what brings you to Southeast Gassers Racing. And one of the questions you keep talking about is your father and what an influence he's been. Is your father still with you? And do you guys does he come to the races with you?
Yeah, he still goes with us. Usually it's me, George, and my dad, and another guy I used to work with, Ted. We all link up, meet up, and whatever race it's at. Ted went to, he met us at the Gulfport, and then he was going to go to the Alabama race, but Alabama got rained out, and then he met us at the Knoxville race. So it's really just the three of them and me, so it's a 4-person team. Yeah, what goes with us.
What were some of the challenges that you faced here coming into this particular race? You were able to win it, but I'm sure there were some challenges that you had to overcome.
Man, let's see. Thursday afternoon, I was ready to pull the plug and not even go. It was so much excitement and anticipation to go to the Alabama race. It was gasser 24/7, 365. We got to make this Alabama race. We were ready. We were watching the rain, watching the radar. It got postponed. Like, great, one more week. Then it got postponed, and man, you would have thought somebody kicked your puppy down the road after that race got canceled. So then going to Knoxville, we had however long it was, about a month after that, and we had been testing a couple weeks before the planned Alabama race. From the time we hooked up the motorhome to the trailer, we fried all kinds of electrical stuff in the trailer. The steps wasn't working on the motorhome. We just used this stuff not too long ago. And then getting up to the track, probably, 60, 70 miles before coming into the track, the rod height sensor on the motorhome, one of the little bushings had fallen out and the back of the bus was dragging. So by the time we got to the track, man, I don't even want to make a pass. We were worried about getting back. So I called the Good Sam roadside assistance, which is a total joke. I ended up being a motorhome mechanic. I can work on about anything now. Well, after I got off the phone with Good Sam and got that situated where I thought somebody was going to come help, because I just re-upped my membership before we left. So we unloaded the car, made that pass Friday night in the test and 10. I think we were like the third or fourth car down, and it wasn't a real pretty run. I guess it was a good run for a gasser. We had a decent 60-foot, a pretty good 330, and that's when we went to 584, and our tone changed after that. We had a bunch of people come up and say, hey, that was a pretty good run, but only a few people knew what it actually ran. So we were pretty excited. And then the rain that night came, and I was surprised that we even got that race off because they were calling for rain. I seen Leslie's post on Facebook the night before, hey, we're going to race. And I told them when we left, I said, we're just going to be sitting in the rain all weekend. There ain't no way we'll race with this forecast they got. But we decided just to load up and go anyway, and I'm glad we did because we were excited to get that 584 run because we spent a lot of hours on the dyno chasing that and working, testing at our local track. And then we made that first pass Saturday morning with that 589, and we were pretty stoked because we knew what I think the record was a 597 going into the event.
All right, let's talk about Q2. And let's not just talk about it. I'm going to take the time. That's what I've been searching for, while also having the lights turned out on me and taking phone calls, to find this video that is blown up on Southeast Gas Association social media. We'll take a look. I ain't got no steering.
Man, I think that video, last time I looked, had like 300 and something thousand views. Crazy amount of views. I tried to comment on as many comments as I could, but I gave up. I can tell you, of the 300 comments that people put down, those 300 people need to come to a SEGA race and come line up in the staging lanes and drop the clutch on one of these cars, and then their tone will change. I can tell you that.
Oh, absolutely.
I've driven some fast stuff. I've driven so much stuff. Rear engine dragsters, front engine dragsters, A-gas cars, and you name it. The AFX cars with that 9-inch slick and let's just say over 800 horsepower is definitely a wild ride. And hey, if you weren't there in the car, you don't know. But basically what happened was the steering U-joint had pulled off of the steering box from me holding on to the steering wheel, because you're driving these cars, one-handed till you really get it into maybe third gear. You can put two hands on for a second, but until you get into fourth gear, you're one-hand driving, so you're trying to hold the car still, hold still, shift. The whole steering shaft and U-joint had pulled off, and the car was going straight. I didn't know. It's a typical run. It wants to go left. It wants to go right. It's a gasser. So I hit second gear, and I didn't see Alan anywhere near me. So this is a pretty good run. I was just about to go to third gear, and man, that wall just kept getting closer and closer. And I'd already tried to start steering it back right, probably around the top of first gear, and it wasn't coming. So I'd give it a little bit. You can't jerk these cars when you're driving. You got to just be smooth steering. It's kind of like the Bonneville stuff. If you jerk the wheel on one of these cars, you're going to put it on the roof or you're going to crash it. But once I realized that the car wasn't responding, I let off the throttle. I've seen so many comments, learn to live. Hey, man, strap in the gasser. Come get you some. You'll see what I'm talking about. And, man, I just felt so bad hitting the wall, man. It's George's car. I'm the one that painted it, and it hurts my heart and soul, dinging up the body and mashing it up. I expected when I got out of the driver's seat that it was just going to be a total. And then to top everything off, I had a brake line failure too. I didn't know it. I didn't know that I didn't have brakes. Everybody says, get on the brakes, get on the brakes. You just can't stab the brakes in one of these cars like that. You got to be smooth, driving and smooth stopping. You can't never panic. And then I've seen another million comments. Oh, he's just sawing on the wheel trying to get something. Hey, I ain't going to sit there and just ride along and stuff it in the wall. I'm going to go down like the Titanic. I'm going to ride that thing to the very end, and I'm going to be trying something. Maybe, just maybe, the steering shaft will re-engage and I can keep it off the wall. So that's how that went. Hey, when I caught on fire at Bonneville after my 305 mile per hour run, I turned out so far at Bonneville that they seen me out there and thought I was okay, but the car had caught on fire. I hit the extinguishers and it still didn't go out. I was yelling like Tom Cruise on Castaway, help, help, help. I started running in a 20 suit. A 20 suit's a pretty heavy suit. I got the boots, I got the suit, the helmet, trying to get somebody's attention. I probably made it 100 feet, but it felt like 10 miles. But whatever I'm doing, I'm going to give it my all till I can. So to all the people commenting, hey, come line up, get you a gasser. We need more cars. I'd love to beat you. I'm sure you'd love to beat me too, but come on and get some.
It is absolutely amazing. Look, I love social media. Social media allows us to do this very thing that we're doing. We're getting your story, but humans tend to figure out a way to bring the negative to anything. And
Yeah.
I see it with comments on Matt Schwartz and his welding here at McKinney Corp. I mean, the man welds up aluminum gas welds, by the way, nearly every tank in professional drag racing.
Yes.
With nitro cars. He doesn't need your comments.
No.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know what you're doing. It was a moment where in racing, these things always happen. Motorsports proves that what you think can't happen can happen and will happen. And who would have thought you bracing yourself and pulling on the wheel would have disconnected something, and then you are, well, just along for the ride.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
It's amazing when people are outside the moment and with some voyeurism peering in, they think they have the solutions when they would simply just panic and probably crash the car even further in all reality. I see
No
these people
doubt.
sim race, and they're jokes. So, yeah, there you go.
My favorite comment so far is, man, that guy's a noob. I started drag racing. My first pass, I was 10 years old in a junior dragster. I just turned 38 after we got back from Knoxville. So you do the math. That's a lot of years drag racing.
You know, I find that fascinating as well. You have this incident in racing, and people make a comment such as, oh, he's a noob. It's like, look, the greatest race car drivers of all time have all had their incidents on track.
Yeah.
Of a mistake, of a mechanical failure, of a wreck. You know, Murph, where I'm at, Murph McKinney. I mean, he got his shot because his car wrecked. And Kenny Bernstein's like, that was a bad wreck, and you live. Who built that car? And Murph's like, I did. So, I mean, it happens.
Yep.
Hey, if you want something that you know is not going to break, stay at home, don't come out. But when you're pushing this stuff out as hard as you can and you're trying to set a record, hey, stuff happens. That's racing. You know the deal when you get behind the seat and drop the hammer. This could be it. This could be my last pass, or I could make 15, 20 more years of passes. That's why we do it. We like the thrill. Somebody said, well, you know, preventive maintenance would have caught that. Well, come out to a SEGA race. We run a whole event and I don't know what, 5-6 hours, 2 rounds of qualifying and eliminations. The time in between rounds, like it's not like a bracket race where you got 8 hours in between each round. You might have 35 to 50 minutes max to do everything you need to do to get the car ready to run again. It's just not physically possible to check every nut and bolt. You got to take some assumption that, you know, some of the stuff's going to be okay. Would I've caught that if I'd have looked for that? Maybe. I mean, it's just one of those things where the U-joint pulled off the box. I'm going to order some split collars and put it on the other end of the shaft where that can never happen again. Now every car I do, it'll always have that. So you learn from your mistakes, and you know what to do for next time. But that don't mean that you could go up there next time and you might break a rod in on a ladder bar. You just don't know.
Yeah.
Jeffery Ferguson, you are wise beyond your 38 years on this planet, young man. And as you said, if you don't learn from your mistakes, that's the definition of ignorance, because you're destined to make the same mistake again.
Exactly.
All right, you get the car back to the pits. It's not as bad as you all thought, and you've got to switch gears and get ready for eliminations. You do go on and pick up the round 1 win, and then you go into the semifinals. You lose to eventual event winner in AFX. That's Daniel Haynes driving Todd Limberley's Southern Comfort Falcon in the AFX category. So give us the 411 on your time post wall scrub and oh crap moment to exhilaration, and also, dang, I didn't do what I needed to as a driver in the semifinal.
After getting out of the car after hitting the wall, I kind of got out and I was mad. But then I looked at it and said, hey, we can fix this. I didn't know that the brake line was broke. I just knew it didn't have brakes. We towed it back to the trailer. We put the steering back on the track just to get it back to the trailer. We fixed that. We put the U-joint back on, made sure that the set screw is in the groove of the steering box. And then we thought maybe the fitting had just come loose on the master cylinder, but it ended up, it had a cracked line. But man, Greg and his guys, they happened to have a 3AN braided line that we was able to hook up from the master cylinder to the line lock. So we got brakes, we got the steering hook back up, and me and George had a powwow, I said, we got the bye run first round because we qualified number 1. I said, you just want to take the tree and ease down the track, or you just want to send it? I said, I'll do whatever you want to do. I just send it. So I went up there. I did the best John Force burnout that I could possibly do. Turned my top bulb on, rolled the bottom bulb on. Man, I dropped the clutch, and that thing was hauling ass. Went through there and knocked up the record with the 590. So I was pumped. The car went straight. I didn't crash it again. And I had the bye run, so we could run whatever lane we wanted to run. And put me back in the lane. I hit the wall. So me in that lane, so we got a score to settle, and I did. And then after that run, I made a hell of a run. We broke the shifter. I went to turn off the track, and it's got the vertical gate shifter. It wouldn't come out of 4th gear, so I ended up breaking the little spud that lets the gate travel up and down to get you back into 1st. So we limped it back. We're all pumped. I said, man, we got to fix the shifter, or we're not going to make 2nd round. So I hopped on the golf cart, went and found Roby. I said, Roby, hey, that guy dropped everything he was doing to come help me. I said, I got a broke piece on my shifter. I showed him which one it was. He said, I think I got that. So he came over to our trailer. Him and George got it back together. And then we had to run Daniel 2nd round, which was the semis. And I knew I had a quick car. I just needed to, not go red, stay pretty green. And we went up there. I turned my top bulb on, and with the SEGA cars, you don't get a 2-step or a launch RPM. Like you got to control that with your foot. With the AFX cars, you have to have the mechanical fuel injection. And if anyone's ever driven a race motor with mechanical fuel injection, you know what I'm talking about. Just the slightest bit of extra pressure from your foot will change your launch RPM from 3,500 to 6,000, and you not even know it. And with these AFX cars, it's probably one of the most technical. It's a hard car to drive as far as making a good, consistent run. So anyway, I turned my top bulb on, and I see him going in, and I got the motor about where I want, which is about 3,500. And then it kind of creeps up, and it leaves at about around 5,000, 4,800, 5,000, and that's a good run for us. But as I was trying to bump the clutch to turn my bottom bulb on, the motor was up to like 5,500, 6,000 RPM, and being a newbie, only my real first race in a car, I kind of started all over on my staging procedure, and Daniel, he caught me with my pants down. I dumped the clutch, and the car just went dead. I ended up leaving it like 2,800. I bogged the motor. The car didn't go nowhere. I was hoping he'd miss a shift and I could run him back down, but he was gone. Daniel, he did a hell of a job this weekend. He didn't have the fastest car, but he sure whooped everybody's ass, that's for sure.
Well, and he being a champ too, getting into that car, he talked about the changes from B gas to that car. And you, of course, know the changes from A gas to getting in an AFX car and the way they drive differently. So kudos to both of you guys.
There's night and day difference from the A gas to the AFX. They make close to the same horsepower, but with that small tire and having to weigh that 7 pounds per cubic inch and being so heavy, it handles different. It launches different. The staging procedure is a little bit different because, with my 56, when we were in Gulfport, I left anywhere from 3,000 to 6,200, and that car just goes straight down the track until it gets to about 60 feet, and then it wants to go left, right, or straight. You don't know yet, but it's those cars with the bigger tire, it's a little bit more forgiving. But I was worried when I ran Daniel when I seen that 5,500 that I was just going to smoke the tires, and I panicked, and I started over. Looking back, I should have just left with all the RPMs and spun the tires, because I know what that car will run, just blistering the tires off the starting line. We can go 16, 620s with me roasting the tires through first gear. which is way better than what I ran bogging the motor. So we won't be going to the Ohio race. We're going to sit that one out. But I think, was it the Chattanooga race? When we come back for that one, you better bet that won't happen again.
Jeffrey, one last question for me. You got the A-gas car, you got the AFX car. I know the AFX is your new beauty. Any chance at Gulfport we see you in both cars, in both classes?
A few people know, but probably most of the people on here don't know. We're working on a new A-gas car. That's like I told Leslie, I'm gonna make some fried chicken out of the chick magnet.
I love it.
It's going to be a 67 Camaro. There's not another Camaro straight axle car out there. I got it on the jig. I'm working on it in between jobs here and going racing there. So I could talk for another 2 hours about that car. I'll save that one for another day. But now we got whooped so bad in Gulfport that we can't bring that one back out. We're just going to focus on the AFX car. We wanted to set the record, and we want to get a win, and turn on those win lights is what we want to do with that.
Well, now you're the fabricator. When will we have a chance to see this 67 Camaro in A-gas? Never seen a Camaro in A-gas.
My plan is to have it out for 2026 season opener. That's the plan, but it just depends on how testing goes. So it could be mid-26 before it sees a live competition, because I don't want to show up with a full brand new car. We tried that with Wild and Woolly when it was brand new, and it didn't go good. And when we come out with the Camaro, we want to dominate like we did with the Wild and Woolly car.
Jeffrey, you mentioned that will not be at the Kil-Kare event. That is our next event, but you'll be there for the Rumble in Ringgold, just south of Chattanooga, Tennessee, in Ringgold, Georgia. Beyond that event, we will be, well, more in your neck of the woods, Jackson, Tennessee.
Oh yeah, Jackson. That's about 100 miles from our race shop, so we'll for sure be at the Jackson race, and then I think Knoxville is after that again. I believe. Yeah, so we'll probably go back to Knoxville, and then, man, with Gulfport having the two races, that Gulfport, we've done drag week. I've been to a lot of drag strips, but I got to say that Gulfport race was probably the most fun drag race that I've ever been to, with all the fans and the people coming up. And that's what I like about the SEGA is the people. I think a lot of people can relate to, seeing a real 56, a real Corvette. I just like talking to the people. It's hard to talk to them and entertain everybody when you're in race mode. But, man, if they hang around and come by after, I'll sit there and talk all night with you. But the people that show up to these races, the fans are awesome. Competitors are awesome. And it's hardcore. There's a lot of other gasser groups out there that run, but I'd say you guys will probably know more than me. How many cars show up to an event? Probably 60 to 100 cars, but they're probably, of all those guys that show up, they're the most hardcore guys that show up. They're all there to beat everybody. Anybody can win in any class, just about.
Absolutely true. Well, we look forward to seeing you at SEGA events toward the end of the season. And Shadyside, the finals, is that too far of a haul, or what could we do to make that happen?
Hey, if I get a couple wins, I'm going to talk George into making the drive to Shadyside, because I wanted to go to it last year, but they had the big flood and I-40 was shut down, which is it'd be pretty hard for us to go. I guess we could go the southern route through Atlanta, but they say Gulfport's a huge event, but they say Shadyside's even bigger. I'd love to go to Shadyside and run. If we're doing good, maybe we can make that happen.
All right. Well, competition look out in AFX. Jeffrey, thank you for your time here on SEGA Live, and we look forward to seeing that Wild and Woolly 2 back out at the track. Look forward to seeing updates on the Camaro that you aim to put out in AGAS competition. And, well, we all look forward to just following along with all the things you've got going on. It's a good ride.
Thanks. Yeah, we also plan on, we got a funny car that we're working on too to come out and run the funny car chaos. So in between the funny car and the gasser stuff, we got a full plate.
That you do.
Yeah.
And you're right in my wheelhouse with all of that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
keep us updated. We'll have you. I got Chaos Live tonight too. Keep us updated. We'll have you on Chaos Live and talk about the funny car
Yeah.
project.
We haven't made it to the track yet. We hurt the motor on the dyno earlier this year. We just got it back together and fired it up like probably 2 weeks before the Knoxville race. And then this whole last week, we've been working on the Wild and Woolly gasser. So we almost got that back ready to go to the track, and then we'll focus back on the funny car after that.
Hey, look, you got good taste. You know, the 56,
Mhm.
the now Camaro AGAS machine. No one's done that. You've got a great AFXer that you're racing. Can you clue us in on the body on that funny car?
The body is a 79 Challenger. The car was originally from Paul Zona,
Okay.
and it was the Boston Challenger. And he had I think it was a Hemi blower, and then we put a twin 94 turbos on a Hemi. It's basically like a Promod drivetrain stuffed in a funny car.
That's the beautiful thing about Funny Car Chaos. It's
Yeah.
just got to be a funny car.
So we're going to take everything that we've learned about drag week. We had a twin turbo big block. Bonneville's a twin turbo big block. So we're going to take all of our turbo knowledge and George's A-altered knowledge. He used to run Comp Eliminator for like 30 years. And we're going to throw that at this funny car and see if we can mix it up with those guys too.
All right. Well, we got a gearhead through and through in Jeffery Ferguson. We're glad you're with the Southeast Gassers Association. Guys, anything else for Jeffrey?
Jeffrey, wish you much luck and can't
Yeah.
wait to see some progress on the builds. I know you got a lot of time in there, but would love to see it on social media. Give some people some hints.
Oh yeah, you can follow me on my page on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Buckwheat Racing on Facebook, and JF Hot Rods. I just kind of post a little bit of everything on there. You can follow along. You can make some dumb comments if you want. I may respond, I may not respond. It just depends.
All right. Dumb commenters beware. Jeffrey, look, thank you for your time, man. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Folks, Jeffery
Great guy.
Ferguson. Good to have him on. Good to chat with him. Everybody learn a little bit more about Jeffrey. And we've got some very talented, very accomplished people that race in the Southeast Gassers Association, from an individual, I think, of like Alan Pittman to a Jeffery Ferguson. I mean, got a little bit of everything, from dirt track to salt flat to asphalt to just drag racing. It is just about all there. We just need someone that like raced horses to come race SEGA now.
Right?
But plenty of horses nonetheless in these Southeast Gassers Association machines. And Dugenay, David, I know this. Jeffrey, being a fab man, he builds a lot on his own and builds some fabulous hot rods. But every now and then, you've got to call Summit Racing Equipment to get your ride done. And whether you're building that street rod or you're building a Southeast Gassers Association ride, build with Summit.
Summit Racing Equipment. From the store, the catalog, or online, you can get your street rod, hot rod, personal ride, and even race car, including a Southeast Gassers Association ride, ready for action. Build with Summit Racing Equipment.
All right. Kil-Kare, it's up next. Not this weekend, but the weekend after next. Also, before we go racing at Kil-Kare, did some snooping. I do that occasionally on social media, and found that Kil-Kare is going to have an event right before SEGA is there. So let me bring it up into the image bank and chat on that, brag on that. We want to support the tracks that we go to, but this is going to take place Wednesday before the Southeast Gases Association event. Jet cars and jet truck, wheel standers, fireworks, and more there at Kil-Kare Raceway. Some test and tune. And I can tell you that the Quartermaster and the Black Pearl, I've seen them in person. They put on a really good show. Those funny cars, they have backlit body panels, and they kind of glow in the dark. And they also, when they do their pops, they pop in unison in such a way that they actually create a tune. Through the pops, there's a little musical tune. The Hot Rod fire truck, I would argue that he is the best wheel stander in the nation right now. Puts on a phenomenal show. Look, I've seen a lot of wheel standers, but this guy, I saw him and I was like, dang, that is how you do it. I remember the Cool Bus as a kid. It's got new ownership now, but still a great show. And then Rich Kopp in the Bone Shaker jet truck. I mean, this guy is known for turning the jet on and like melting down cars and then sending it down the quarter mile. So they all will be there putting on a great show. I bring that up, and I'm sure that Rocky Platt is going to give more details later on to those that are racers on getting in official means. But I do want to say that, look, if you're able to be there as a Southeast Gases Association racer and jump in the test and tune type of situation, put on some exhibition passes, that would be great to show this crowd that they expect to have, and that it would be a good crowd that they are expecting, that, hey, Saturday, there's these cool old hot rods racing as well. So it's my intention to get there on Thursday, maybe have some flyers, and just let that crowd know that we're racing Saturday. Come back out and enjoy Southeast Gases Association action. But I'd say try to get there early and enjoy that show too.
Yeah, that looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. And, yeah, that would be a great dual promotion there. Kind of seize the moment with having those cars out there and kind of getting ready for the Southeast Gases event, get people hooked in, and, have them come out and enjoy some more racing that'll be going on. I think that would be a great deal for Southeast Gases Association.
Right.
Yeah,
help out.
It would be. I mean, anytime you can get before a crowd, it's only going to help the promotion of what we're trying to do. So hopefully some guys can get there and bring those beautiful hot rods out for that.
Right. Even if it's just on display on the midway, whatever. Let's get some cars up there. Let's get some personalities up there and work the crowd to come and have a great crowd there at Kil-Kare on Saturday for Southeast Gases Association action. David, been going to Kil-Kare for a while now. It's been the last bastion, if you will, of the northern races for the Southeast Gases Association. And there have been some good shows there, and there have been some good crowds for Kil-Kare. There also has been weather issues, just like last year, even though we did get the event in. But going to Kil-Kare again, your thoughts on it, David?
Well, the fans there have been very good to us because we've had weather for, I think, 3 of the last 5 times we've been. The first race was just outstanding. I mean, the stands were packed. But what a racing facility. It is a family-friendly place, lots of room to move around. There's not a lot of crowded, people elbowing you or anything like that. Great concessions, great track facility management there. They know how to run a race facility first class. And the years that we have had the rain, I mean, these guys have got stand-on lawnmowers that they have, they have bought the components to make those blowers on there. And they've got like 3 or 4 of those things at about $20,000 a pop. And they know how to dry a facility in no time. And You know, I remember one year we had a back window, come out the car and put into a pile of pieces. And I mean, we were racing in 25 to 30 minutes after that. So just a first-rate facility. You won't find a better one in the northern part of our schedule.
What are some of the big time moments that you've seen there at Kil-Kare?
Leslie Horn going down. That's what I remember.
Yeah, Leslie Horn going down to a small block, needless to say. The master tactician, Quayne Stott, driving the Executioner 2, the 48 Anglia last year, took down Quayne Stott in a battle of wits, if you will, on the line. And Quayne knew what he had to do. The car was running fabulously for Quayne as well, but took that little 385 cubic inch Chevy motor, small block, and outrun the Chick Magnet, defeathering the Chick Magnet, as he liked to say, and leaving him standing at the starting line. But the biggest thing for me was, overall, I think Daniel Haynes owns Kil-Kare Dragway. He got his first win there and continued that through. I think he's got 3 wins in the last 4 years there, or 4 out of 5. I don't know which. But when he broke the ice there, it really just catapulted his success in the Southeast Gassers to last year a B-Gas World Championship, as we saw. Took a huge shot at the tree because he's a little overmatched in horsepower the first year. Was taking on TJ York, who ran with us for many years, a former B-Gas World Champion in his own right. And he threw everything at the tree, and he was like 003 on the green side, and that was all he needed. And he took that Patriot to victory. And when he did that, he just went on a roll. You could see his comfort level every time he rolled through the gates.
Yeah, Daniel there seemed just automatic, and he certainly got that place figured out. And it's interesting. You have a driver, they find that place, and they're just comfortable, and they perform well, and they do well. Leslie, I don't know if he is comfortable going to Kil-Kare or not. I want to see how he handles Kil-Kare this weekend. I know this. Ever since that round loss to Quayne Stott, that man has been different on the lights ever since. And there's been a lot of races that I think, well, Leslie Horn has won because he lost that race. Even going back to this most recent race at Knoxville Dragway, because he was not the quickest and fastest car, but he oftentimes was cutting the best line.
You know, I do stand corrected. Chase Howard was in the final last year. That wasn't Quayne and Leslie, I don't think, because Chase Howard.
Yeah, it was semifinals.
Yeah, it was. Maybe that's what it was. So my memory a little foggy right there. But I'm going to tell you what. I haven't talked to Ben Christopher. I haven't seen him in 3 weeks. I hadn't had a chance to have lunch with him. But I'm going to before this race. And if he's got his ducks in a row, let's just put it like that, and he's got his horses from his motor builder, I'm putting my eggs in the Happy Days basket. He's due. He's hungry. And if that motor is ready, I see that car going to victory lane once again.
I do too. I do too. He's had it all year long before, the incident there. He had the best car on the premises. And I think if you're right, if he's got everything together and he's got that motor back to where they need it to be, I put my money in that basket too.
Yeah, speaking of incidents, as Alan Lovelady reminds us, Chase had a wreck in the final at Kil-Kare last year, losing to Quayne. But maybe blessing in disguise, they were able to look over that car once again, get it right, and make it better. And there has certainly been even more performance since that incident at Kil-Kare last year. I'm sure Chase has had this race circled and feels that one got away, even though he has been able to win since earlier this year at Shadyside, that he wants a win at Kil-Kare Raceway and to conquer the walls and conquer the competition and hoisting a Southeast Gas Association Cup at the end of the day.
And he's got to be hungry too. He admittedly had a little sandwich on the line there in the finals at Knoxville, and he's got another power plan in there now. Got him to the finals at Knoxville. Like you said, he's hungry. He wants, rent validation for what he's been doing. He wants some retribution to that racetrack. And, you better not count out that USA 167 Chevelle.
So it's going to be a great weekend starting Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Friday, Saturday with Southeast Gas Association action for Kil-Kare Raceway there in Xenia, Ohio. As I stated last night, the state of Ohio is jumping with drag racing right now.
Yeah.
It will just be a continuation into the weekend that we're going to have with the Southeast Gas Association. Very cool to be a part of it with everything that's going on in the state of Ohio. We're going to have a great show, and to all of you that are racing and you're pre-entered, thank you. To those of you that are sitting on the fence, go find that marketing partner, beg, borrow, don't steal, but get up there and get your car into competition and enjoy a great track with a great fan base and an interesting, unprecedented moment to come for the Southeast Gas Association. David, we're going to do a little differently after qualifying to set the ladders.
Yeah, we're gonna go to a alternative thing that we've never done before. We're going to go to a pill draw, something that we've seen other racing associations that are televised on TV do. Everybody in that qualifies, we're going to have a pill draw. And, I mean, it could be Todd Oden versus, Tim Hall, which I don't think Tim's making it. But it could be that kind of matchup. It could be a Jared Peoples and Todd Oden first-round matchup. The guys that are at the top in our points category in C gas. Or it could be, in B gas the same way. So this could really, really mix up a lot of things going in and going forward in our racing. And you gotta know people like Ernie Smith is loving this. He gets a chance. He's been in the top 5 a lot this year. He's really improved his game. But somebody who hasn't or has a bad qualifying round gets a chance to knock somebody else out. Or we may have a 14 versus a 15. It's just pot luck. And it adds an element to it that we've never seen before in the Southeast Gassers. And I think it's something that will be absolutely storylines abound in this one.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a blast. I love to mix up. I love when things are changed up a little bit. It creates a different dynamic. And really, honestly, it creates a different dynamic within the racers as well, because it's like they have a different view and it creates a different way to come out and attack the day. So, yeah, I agree with that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And quick draws, it makes a good point, too. Barry Adler is starting to get that car to come around as well. And, I think he's definitely got a shot there. It definitely makes the horsepower. So we'll see. We'll see what happens when he gets out there.
I'm gonna get on Barry a little bit because I think he thrives under what I'm going to say to him. Barry Adler, you got to go more than one round, buddy.
Exactly.
So let that get in the seat of his pants. That may make him get after it a little bit more. So I'm saying that as motivation for Barry Adler. Let's go more than one round, Barry Adler. Let's throw a wrench into this A gas. You definitely got the performance that can be attained. Yep. You got the car. So let's see if Barry Adler can punch his ticket.
Well, we're looking forward to some great racing, even if the way in which we set those ladders might be different, positive or negative. I predict that the people who perform well, they're going to love it. The people who don't perform well, they're going to love it. That tends to what happens with racers. And I think overall, using the old idiom, the cream will rise to the top. Yep. At the end of the day, I'm not so sure we'll have a surprise winner. We might have some surprise round winners, but I don't think we're going to have surprise winners. I think those that perform routinely the best, at the end of the day, they're also going to be our event winners there at Kil-Kare Raceway in 2 weekends' time. So we're going to have a great race for Southeast Gas Association action no matter what there. Because, to be honest, I haven't seen a bad Southeast Gas Association race. It just doesn't happen.
Nah.
I mean, it's a good show no matter what. Even, look, I know I heard Wes Buck talking about this, and I don't agree with Wes on everything, but I certainly do agree with him on this. People talk and gripe and moan and groan and complain, or they hype up, or they wave the banner of car count. Oh, we got too low car count. Oh, it's not a good event. Or how many cars are showing up? Blah blah blah. Man, it doesn't matter about the cars. It matters about how the cars that are there race. I've seen 8 cars show up and there be a good race. And I've seen 100 cars show up and be like, man, I didn't get my money's worth.
Exactly.
I don't care if there are just, 8 cars of Southeast Gas Association for an exhibition to Shady Side with, 70, 80 cars. I've seen always good Southeast Gas Association drag racing. So, to you, the competitors, to you, the car owners, to you, the racers, thank you. And it doesn't matter whether there's 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. It's a good show no matter what.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. And if you get out from behind the screen and quit typing like what Jeffrey was talking about before, and quit being the Doubting Thomas and bring yourself to a Southeast Gasser race, I've never heard one person say to me, well, man, this stinks. I don't understand this. It's very simple to understand. The first one to the finish line is going to win.
Yep.
And that's what it's that simple. And, at South Georgia Motorsports Park, Dugenais, your hometown there, when we had 18-year-olds and 20-year-olds show up in 3 carloads that came down from Atlanta, Georgia. And I said, how did you hear about it? Oh, we saw a YouTube video. We're just a bunch of street racing guys who were intrigued by this. And we saw a bunch of cars that our grandpas talked about, and we're here. And, there were 15 people showed up with those guys. And after the race, I said, come to the tower. Tell me how it was. They couldn't even get to the tower. They were just waiting on me at the bottom of the steps. Man, this is awesome. We're coming to another one in Ringgold,
Right.
Yeah.
We got a comment from, let me get it right. It's YouTube, all one chunk here. Small chunk of ground. Quite the interesting YouTube handle there, sir.
Yes.
Says, can't wait. I've never been to Kil-Kare or a SEGA race. Looks like it's going to be interesting as far as matchups. Look, you will not be disappointed by Kil-Kare or by the Southeast Gas Association. I agree with you, David. I've seen people okay, why don't y'all show the times and all this and all of that? Then they come to the show and they're like, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's not that big of a deal. This is just flipping cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when they go down the racetrack and a car breaks out, and starts sliding over the racetrack and they're having to gear it down, doing something like that, getting a handful of wheel, and they still get to the finish line first, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. And believe me, folks, the center line is all that counts. You can play it off the wall like Jeffery Ferguson did, and if you still get there first, you're going to win. I've seen Kenneth Phillips do it 3 times.
Right.
He's driven his Corvette off the wall 3 times and still got a round win, and that's exciting.
Yeah, it really is. I think that's what's so impressive about SEGA is that you have a group of cars that come in and all of them are quality. It's a rarity, to be honest, with a lot of series, and I think it's I think it's really crazy that people are so worried about car counts. I'll think back to even late 80s, early 90s, and you talk about just the NHRA Pro Stock will put, and we always talk about glory days, but in actuality, it was only 4 or 5 cars that were great. The rest of them were just there to fill spots. They weren't exactly going to win the race. And with Southeast Gassers, you guys know when you have a group of cars that show up, anybody has an opportunity to win it. There's no sure thing when it comes to Southeast Gassers Association and the racing there, because everybody is bringing something to the table that has the ability to get the W.
Kil-Kare, it's going to be a killing good time, if I can put it that way. It is going to be a good show. Well, gentlemen, look, anything else before we shut this show down? I do need to step out and retool and refire on the live. I've got another show later on this evening for Chaos Nation as we get prepared for Nitro Chaos at Edgewater Sports Park in Ohio. Like I said, Ohio's jumping. Ohio's jumping. And we look back to a great Summer Nationals with Funny Car Chaos. But anything else concerning Kil-Kare, SEGA, on your minds in this moment?
For me, what a surface. We're racing on better surfaces now for our cars. And this is no doubt. They've got a great surface up there. You can run quarter mile up there. I mean, just a wonderful facility. Folks, if you are anywhere near or you're looking to take a trip, Cedar Point's not that far away for your kids in Sandusky. Go up, take the kids up, go to see the Arc on the way up, go to a Cincinnati Reds game. Get to Kil-Kare. Do something with the family the day before. Come that Thursday night to see the Jet cars. Stay for the weekend. You will not be disappointed. It's going to be a great show. And I am like you guys. I want quality over quantity.
Yep. Well said, David.
Yes. Well, we're going to switch gears to shutting the show down here for this installment of SEGA Live. G-Force Racing Transmissions, Racing and Performance Street Transmissions. If you've got a shift, it needs to be a G-Force transmission. They are the official 4-speed of the Southeast Gassers Association. In closing, we'll take a look. We just completed Knoxville Dragway. We're going to Xenia, Ohio, their Kil-Kare Dragway. That's what we've been talking about. Back in very, very northern Georgia in August after a break during the month of July. And then for the first time ever, the Jackson Dragway, Jackson, Tennessee. Back to Old Rocky Top for the fall edition there at Knoxville Dragway. And then, as announced last week by SEGA owner Leslie Horn, a big one, maybe the big one is how we should put it. Gulfport Dragway, Gulfport, Mississippi, along with Cruising the Coast. And that fabulous show, it will be a double race weekend. Friday will be a race. Saturday will be a race for the Southeast Gassers Association. And we end the season in the month of November at Shady Side Dragway. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. I am Lee Kraft, a.k.a. the Monday Morning Racer, along with these two guys, Dujanay Bland up there and David Lancaster, the voice of the Southeast Gassers. Everyone, take care.
Harbin's Mechanical serves Atlanta, Georgia, and its metro area. From the big jobs downtown to the jobs in your hometown of the suburbs, they are your #1 source for your HVAC and refrigeration needs in Atlanta and its metro area. Stay cool in Hotlanta with Harbin's Mechanical Services.